And it is the Saturday Coffee Klatch with Heather Lofthouse on the West Coast and Robert Reich on the East Coast. Heather, once again, we have the whole nation covered. Covered.
That's
How are you?
impressive.
How are you? By the way, this is not coffee. This is because This is sort of later than our coffee clutch on the East Coast. So this is, and it looks like it is cranberry juice. Heather, how
That's
are
what I was
you?
going to guess. I'm good. I'm having coffee, not cranberry juice. I'm decent. Let's get into it. I mean, kind of dreading it, but if we're going to do it, let's do it
No,
together.
I don't dread it. I love it when we talk about all kinds of things. So
I love it when we talk about all kinds of things, but I like some things better than other things. So today we're
well,
going to talk about Trump. How's that for you?
why do we have to lead off with Trump?
That's
I
my
mean,
point.
I don't really. We want to talk about Trump first.
let's put it in some context. The
Okay.
Frankenstein monster he's creating. Let's
Yeah.
talk about murders on the high seas and what's been happening with the foreign policy, allegedly. Let's talk about DOJ, the economy, the blue wave that's coming.
Well, I like
Let's
that.
talk about the watch
let's-
along of the last class film will be happening on Monday. So it's not all grim. Let's just be clear. But
No,
also
I-
let's look at the grimness and provide some context around it.
Okay. Well, you want to start with Trump, and I
Yes,
think
please.
there is some debate about whether he's losing his mind, or he's losing his marbles, or he's just showing his age. I really believe. I mean, when you look at what he's been saying lately, I mean, the things coming out of his mouth, no rational human being would be saying them, let alone a president of the United States. I mean, don't you agree with me? I think there's more evidence every single day that he is literally losing it.
Well, I'm of two minds. On the one hand, yes, he's unhinged. But on the other hand, is he 79, followed, as one ages, there's a set amount of changes in personality and brain and inhibition, right? I have nothing
Well,
to lose anymore.
Heather, I'm 79, and I was
Right.
born 10 days after Trump. And I mean, am I inhibited? Or uninhibited? I don't know. I would
less
never
inhibited.
say, I'm less inhibited, but I'd never say
Yeah, but
things
that's
like,
that's because you're not a racist misogynist and you're not surrounded by enablers other than great ones who are pushing. I mean, they are pushing him. So when he says quiet piggy, quiet piggy, and he gets all this attention for it, and then he tells the next female reporter she's stupid. I mean, he is just swimming in support for his unhingedness
Well,
and
this
his
is not just,
misogyny and his racism.
but it's not just misogyny. He also, I mean, he calls people from El Salvador and people from other places around the
I
world who
know, and
are
the Somalis.
and the Somalis, he says they're garbage and they ought to go back to where they came from. And these are Americans. These are people who are, I mean, we are a culture, a civilization, a society of immigrants, basically, unless you were born, a Native American. And so I mean, I think that this shows that he is losing it. Now, granted, he's been talking about immigrants. He's been racist. He's been talking about brown-skinned and people who are black and denigrating them for years. But to do it as openly as he's been doing it, along with the misogyny, Heather, I mean, I'm sorry. He's nuts.
And then, Bob, did you see yesterday Trump received the inaugural FIFA Peace Prize? Please tell me you saw that.
What is the FIFA Peace Prize?
Nothing.
What does
It's a
FIFA have to do with
trophy.
peace? But what does football have to do with peace? I mean,
Listen, it's
it's
hard for you to understand. It's a great
it is hard.
relationship. It has to do with ticket sales. It also doesn't have to do with ticket sales. It has to do with the incredible relationships
Oh
and
God,
football
you
and
know,
soccer and
what
peace.
what this is all about is Donald Trump desperately wants the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, desperately, he wants it. He wants it so bad. He has. Did you see, Heather, that he's put his name? There's the U.S. Institute of Peace. Basically he took over and emptied
Doge,
out.
yep.
and
Yep.
and Doge got rid of it, but it's still a building, and he put his name. It's now the Donald J. Trump U.S. Institute of Peace. I mean, this fellow, he's campaigning like mad for the Nobel Prize. He says he's brought peace before there are wars, and he's brought peace. I mean, but look at Ukraine, look at Gaza, look at what's happened in the Caribbean. I mean, he's changed the Pentagon to the U.S. Department of War, and this guy he says he deserves the Peace Prize. Hello?
I mean, it's ridiculous. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. So what has been this week in terms of what's happening in Venezuela on the high seas, but then also what he's doing in terms of pardons on the home front?
Well, also the HHS. I mean, let's step back for a second, because you've got these three giant departments that really do affect every American almost every day. You've got Health and Human Services, now run by a fanatic named Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You've got Pam Bondi running the Justice Department, which is now a Department of Injustice. And you've got this Pete Hegseth running the Defense Department. These giant departments are in chaos. I mean, he has created, if you want to use this metaphor today, Trump has created a Frankenstein monster in government, starting with these three giant departments. And yes, look at what Hegseth is doing. I mean, all week we have been wondering whether there have been war crimes because of this. They bombed the vessel in the Caribbean, and people were then holding on for dear life because they survived. Two people survive, and then there's another bomb. It's called murder. There is no war declaration here. These are not enemy combatants. I mean, who gives Trump or Hegseth the right to just kill people at will?
I know. And there's all this discussion, well, with the initial, he said kill everyone, but then they tried to, but then they didn't. So was the second bomb part of the first order, or was it different? So, and then at the same time, he's all over social media. And this is what Trump has normalized too. Like a 15-year-old child, he's on there saying sassy stuff and putting up memes and being snide and disrespectful and cruel. And it's just not who one would think would be in the cabinet. Now, tell me, when you were in the cabinet, you told me this once, you sat around the table, but you had designated seats based on, tell us all.
Based on seniority. But we also had the rule of law, Heather.
That too.
This is the big issue here, because there has been no declaration of war. And this is Donald Trump and Hegseth, and it is also HHS, and it's also, if you want to extend it, it's also happening inside the United States in terms of ICE and Homeland Security. They're going after people without any due process, they're accusing people on the high seas of smuggling drugs, or inside the United States of being here illegally, and they're just asserting it. And then they are arresting people or killing people.
Did you see the statistic about those who have been arrested as part of this ICE operations that we've been watching? 73% of them didn't have a previous conviction. He says these are hardened criminals. They had not been convicted of a crime. 73%.
Okay, because you remember just 10 months ago what Trump said, and another one of these characters around him, Stephen Miller.
Which one?
Stephen Miller.
No.
I mean, while we're talking about Frankenstein monsters, Stephen Miller says we're only going to go after the people who are here illegally, undocumented workers, undocumented people who are criminals. That was the first story. And people, nodded, and Americans said, well, that makes some sense. And now we find that most of the people who have been arrested or deported are not criminals. I mean, they're people in our communities. They're people who are hardworking Americans. They're people who have been here for a long time, or their children, now separated from their parents.
It's so brutal.
it is brutal. It's the same sort of brutality on a different level, but it's the same sort that we're seeing in the Caribbean with an undeclared war. I mean, this is what we ought to be talking about instead of the minutiae of what's happening to this person or that person, or whether this person actually did take an order from Hegseth or did not take an order from Hegseth. The big picture is no rule of law. Congress has not authorized any of this. The American people have not authorized any of it, and it's all being done lawlessly.
And then he's setting up new systems to be able to do even more. So you saw his new, what is it? His national security strategy, and then what he calls the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, which is basically racist.
Bullshit. This is just bullshit. It's window dressing to avoid the fact that there has been no declaration of war, and Congress and the American people are bystanders here. I mean, what is it? It's also racist, right? I mean, what he's talking about is not what James Monroe did in terms of protecting the hemisphere or trying to protect the hemisphere, or what Teddy Roosevelt subsequently did. No, it's now just about what kind of returning America or saving America for white people and getting rid of or deporting or arresting people who are brown people or black people.
Right.
I mean, let's be clear about what it is kind of the great replacement. This is going on under our noses every single day right now, Heather.
And listen to this quote. So this is from this new national security strategy. We want Europe to remain European, to regain its civilizational self-confidence, and to abandon its failed focus on regulatory suffocation. So not only is it the great replacement, then there's the additional part which says allow monopolies and the private sector to thrive.
Europe did go through this 80 years ago, 84, 85 years ago. It's called fascism. And Europe knows and has experience with fascism. I mean, they know what this actually means. We did not actually experience it directly in the United States. And I think that we are now experiencing it. That's what this doctrine is.
I know. In terms of what's happening with the Justice Department, I know you told me when I saw you earlier this week, you had read that article in the New York Times and talking about how many people in these departments are no longer there, the lawyers that we depend on. Say a little bit about that.
Well, it's just the Justice Department. I worked in the Justice Department, and there are thousands of lawyers there, dedicated people who could make much more money in the private sector. Most of them are there in the Justice Department because they believe in the common good. That's what they are there for. And now we know that something in the order of 4,000 to 5,000 lawyers have been purged or have simply quit because they can't take it anymore under Pam Bondi and Donald Trump, who has made the Justice Department into his own private law firm. Essentially, that's what it is now, going after his enemies and pardoning his friends. And you have even the Solicitor General's office. I used to work, the particular part of the Justice Department I worked in was called the Office of the Solicitor General. It was kind of considered to be the elite of the Justice Department because it argued and briefed cases for the Supreme Court. There were only, when I was there, 15 lawyers. There are now about 20 lawyers. But actually, it turns out, half of them under Bondi, over the last 10 months, half of them have quit. They can't take it. They don't want to. I mean, they have morals. They have, moral frameworks. They have moral limits, and they're not going to do things that are fundamentally counter to their professional ethics. And that's what's going on.
So how long can this Frankenstein monster last if all of these pieces that were underpinning it were the moral people and the rational people, and are Hegseth's days numbered? Are Trump's days numbered? What can you please give me a specific number?
I'll give you 14. How's that?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
I like
Well,
days
look
or
at
months or years.
I think Hegseth's days are numbered, but Trump never wants to look as though he's bowing or cowing to demands made on him or pressure put on him to get rid of somebody. So he's going to keep Hegseth at least for a while. With regard to Pam Bondi, she's a total loyalist. I mean, he says, indict, arrest Comey or Letitia James, and she immediately does it, even though all of the indictments are being thrown out of court because they're done without grand juries, without any expertise. And nevertheless, Pam Bondi and that Frankenstein monster she's created at the Justice Department, unfortunately, they're going to continue, at least for the foreseeable future. And RFK, we haven't talked about RFK Jr., but the panel that he put together, that anti-vax panel that looks like it's going to recommend, or it has recommended, against even inoculating babies, newborns, against hepatitis B. I mean,
That's it.
this is nuts. This is completely contrary to what we want from the department that is in charge of our public health. That's what I mean by a Frankenstein monster.
And you saw this report out of the Gates Foundation this week that said child mortality will go up this year globally for the first time in this century. There are going to be at least 200,000 more child deaths.
You mean globally? Well, there's certainly going to be more globally because USAID has been essentially, dozed. Is that the verb? I mean,
yes.
It's gone. I mean, that was protecting a lot of young people from tuberculosis and from a lot of childhood diseases.
It's
and
not just
older
that;
people
it's
too.
the primary health care. It's so essential in that 0 to 5 space, and it is not easy. But the global health community, has figured it out. You got to get vaccines to young people. You got to get, if there's malnourishment, you got to get them nutrition supplements. You've got to get them oral rehydration if they're having diarrhea. If they have malaria, you got to get them.
Heather, it's even here in the United States. I mean, you've got a measles outbreak for the first time. I mean, measles. We thought measles was conquered. And you have measles because you have RFK and his Frankenstein monster of HHS are basically discouraging people from getting their children inoculated against measles and other childhood diseases. I mean, this is
one thing I find
nuts.
hard, Bob.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But one thing I find hard is we sit here on our coffee clutches, and God, I love them, keeping me going, keeping so many of us going. But I miss, what I like to be able to do is look at a story in the Atlantic or somewhere and look at people's faces. I think it's so easy to go at this one level of outrage. And you were saying that the new Oxford Dictionary word for the year is rage bait. Right?
Rage bait. I'm in rage. I was in pretty good mood before we started this coffee clutch. The more we talk about what's happening in Hegseth's Defense Department and RFK's HHS and Pam Bondi's Justice Department, I do feel enraged, and I think that this isn't rage bait. This is rational to be enraged. I mean, we need to be enraged about all of this.
I think so too, but when we're enraged, I worry that we get away from the personal stories. I worry that we forget about the actual pain, and that's part of why I think rage bait is so popular, because you're clicking and you're getting angry and you're not feeling the feelings and feeling rage in a way where you can channel it into doing something. That's where I worry a little bit.
Well, how about the personal story of Donald Trump giving a pardon to the former president of Honduras, who was convicted of all of this facilitating the importation into the United States of cocaine. And
500 tons, I read in Mother Jones.
500
tons.
And people are suffering from cocaine addiction, and what is Donald Trump doing? He's, we're simultaneously. I mean, talk about Oh, I'm getting just enraged again. I'm sorry. You want to go back to human interest stories. Okay. Well, president of Honduras, his name is Hernandez.
Right.
Hernandez. Let's talk about Mr. Hernandez. I mean, I'm glad in a way that he's happier now than he was when he was facing jail time, but I'm not actually. How can we be at the same time bombing vessels, that are suspected of having fentanyl drugs coming into the United States, just suspected, without a
Narco
declaration of war,
terrorists.
murdering people, and the word is murder. At the same
I
time,
know.
we're giving pardons to a former president who was actually found guilty of sending cocaine into the United States. This is the kind of stuff, Heather, that I think most Americans, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty, the detail of where most Americans look at this and say, I don't understand it. It seems crazy to me. And,
Yeah.
and the answer to most Americans is it is crazy. We now have a government that is off the rails, completely
But
off
we
the
do
rails. It
have some
isn't.
studies. We have that Marquette poll. 76% of Americans oppose Trump's attempt to remove Maduro from power. So that's Venezuela. I mean, I think Americans are paying attention to all of this, but it's not just human interest stories, because I think that is what the media says, and it's belittling. And it's like, oh, throw it over to people.com. We'll have a little human interest story about a kitten that was lost on the side of the highway. But there's so much pain and suffering, and I do feel you say this in the film, the last class film, that you have to teach students and to get them to be committed to public policy and to leadership and to fighting inequality. The data has to appeal both to their minds and their hearts. And I worry a little bit that when we read a New York Times story and we say, oh, over 70% of people who are being arrested in these ICE operations had no convictions. And then we have outrage and then we move on. And I want to hold on to the actual pain and torture and not forget that, because I think voters and humans that are in this country need to be reminded of that too.
Absolutely. Well, there are people in my community, okay, who I know personally, who are friends of mine, who
Right.
are undocumented. And
Yep.
some of them arrived here as children. And they are now scared even to go out of their homes. They're scared to send their kids to school. They're scared to go to a hospital. They're scared to even, check in and make sure that their status as immigrants enables them to stay here, or
Yeah.
if they're on a green card. I mean, they are immobilized. They are deeply in fear, with good reason. These are people I know. Okay, these are people who work hard. They are upstanding members of my community, and
Yep.
a lot of people who are watching this probably also know people like this.
Oh,
This
for
is
sure. Or they are people like this. And also, school districts have been incredible. So I'm part of a public school district, and I think a lot of, services are being provided through school districts. So there's Thanksgiving food this past week, so many emails and text out saying we have food for your families if you can't afford it. We have workshops for those who are scared that ICE is coming. I mean, it's remarkable to be part of a public school district and see how they're trying to support people who are so fearful right now.
But you see, Heather, this gets to a point that you're absolutely right, we don't emphasize enough to each other or on this podcast. And that is, most Americans are really good people, decent people, warm-hearted people who care about other people. I mean, what we are seeing coming out of the Trump administration with Hegseth and Bondi and RFK Jr. and Stephen Miller, this doesn't reflect America. America's much better than this. The average American is really appalled by what is going on, and I take some sustenance, some I feel gratitude to people. On my Substack, Now, granted, there is a certain self-selective quality to the Substack, but it makes me feel so good about America when I read all of the comments.
Right. So this is what gives me hope. And I'm hoping there's going to be a blue wave, even as the more Trump's pardons all these people, including Democrats, by the way, that he can then hold over them later, right? And Mayor Adams. I mean, the list of pardons goes on and on and on and on. So,
Can we
but
can we
while,
just stop on that? Because I think that's a
yeah,
really important point. Because he's
yeah,
been pardoning Democrats. He starts with Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, and he gives Eric Adams a pardon. And why? What's the justification for that pardon? He says it's because Eric Adams has been helpful with his anti-immigrant or anti-immigration. Well, we know that that's bulltwat. I mean, that can't
bogus. Yeah.
really be what's going on. There's some kind of inside story there about Eric Adams and Trump. I'd love to know what it is. And then he is also giving a pardon to the Henry Cuellar, Cuellar, another Democrat in Texas on the border, and Cuellar, who has been critical of immigration, but he's a Democrat. And then why is Trump giving pardons to, and Cuellar, by the way, was convicted for
That's it.
taking bribes. This is like Eric Adams. So
Yep, from oil companies.
what's going on here with the pardons? I think the big story is that Donald Trump wants Democratic office holders, to know that Trump can either go after them, make them defendants, prosecute them, or Trump can actually pardon them. He has a carrot and he has a stick and a carrot, and Democrats should be on notice of what Trump can do for them or against them. That's what Trump is after. He wants everybody to salute, not just Republicans.
And Texas in particular. Convenient that Democrat is in Texas, right? What did we see this week with the Supreme Court in Texas?
Here's the Supreme Court shadow docket. So we don't even understand their reasoning, but they are approving Texas's move to redistrict. They are overturning the Court of Appeals, Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals decision, which said that Texas really cannot do the kind of redistricting, the kind of extreme redistricting it did to come up with 5 Republican seats for the next Congress. I think the Supreme Court is displaying its extreme partisanship in all of this.
And it's so interesting. Now, I'm going to oversimplify this, but basically there were claims that it was racist, and they're saying, no, it's not racist, it's partisan. And what was mentioned is what happened in California. So if California can do it, Texas can do it. I mean, it's very tit for tat, it seems to me. But also in so many of the comments you see, you were allowed to do it in California, but you're not allowed to do it in Texas? What would you say to someone who said that to you right now?
I would say this is all about, or it should be about, the rule of law. It should be about what the law provides and what is constitutional and what is not constitutional. And if California goes through all kinds of hoops to actually legally change its redistricting laws, then California is doing it legally. If Texas is doing it in a way that really is not constitutional and not legal, then it should be held to be not constitutional and not legal. I mean, when the Supreme Court gets into tit for tat, this is we're trying to balance California and Texas. That's not what the Supreme Court should be doing. The Supreme Court should be really, enforcing the law and the Constitution. Am I being naive?
No, I mean, that was the whole idea. The other thing is we're hoping that this is a dummy mander, right? So a dummy mander, of course, is a term for you do the gerrymander thinking or with the intention of having the one party win, but the other party actually wins. So
It could be,
you had
yes.
a great Substack. Right, it could be a dummy mander.
Well,
you had a
but
great Substack.
I don't want to stop you.
No, you keep going. You keep going about the dummy mander.
I just wanted to say that it could be that Texas Republicans will rue the day that they actually redistricted, because they may not get 5 new Republican seats, because a lot of the Latino vote in Texas looks like it's moving toward the Democrats. And
Not just in Texas, by the way, the Latino
yeah,
vote.
that's right. That's right. I mean, you can't have it both ways, Donald Trump. You can't go after people who are Latinos and people who are Hispanic, people who have brown skin, and arrest them. And some of them are here legally, some of them are not here legally. You can't just do that without expecting there's going to be some consequence electorally in terms of how voters feel who are here legally, but they are people who are Latino or Hispanic.
Right. Can I just say something about you interrupting me and me interrupting you? So this feels like a conversation to me, and I was your student 147 years ago, and I love to be interrupted by you because I feel like we're meeting at a higher place. It doesn't feel interrupted like you're trying to quiet me. It says, "Ooh, I'm adding this," and then I say, "Wait, I'm adding this." And also, for everyone doing a podcast or whatever, having a conversation over a cup of coffee remotely, it's hard not to interrupt someone when you're on, whatever a
Of course.
platform is.
That's
You
right.
know? Okay.
So what you're saying, and I agree with you, is if you're out there and you feel like I am interrupting Heather or Heather is interrupting me, that's what friends do when we get together for coffee and you get together
Coffee.
for coffee.
Coffee.
Or coffee, or
I was interrupting you.
you were just about to say something about my recent Substack, and I interrupted you.
Yes. So the one I really appreciated. So you said, this is a platform that I think Dems should strongly consider for the midterms. Maybe you didn't say strongly consider. You might have said take up already. And you had 10 points, I think, around affordability. This is the economic messaging that we need to, A, be conveying, but also, following through on people. And I loved it. So can we go through some
Thank
of
you.
those things?
Well, this was my Friday Substack, and I basically
Yep.
said that if you look at where Democrats have scored the best over the last 10 months, and we're talking about special elections and mayoral elections and gubernatorial, where they've scored the best is when they've talked about affordability. This is where Trump is doing the worst. I mean, Trump keeps on saying affordability is a sham. Why should anybody worry about affordability? The fact is that the country is really worried about affordability. If you are in the top 1% or top, billionaire donor percent, you're not going to worry about it. But most Americans are seeing prices go through the roof and are seeing their wages go nowhere. And that's a formula for not only anger and resentment of a sort that ultimately, did get us Trump, but it's also Trump was reelected because he said he's going to bring prices down, and he hasn't. Just the opposite. Prices continue to soar. And so Democrats that have been talking about affordability are doing well. And how do you talk about affordability? How should you, as a Democrat, or as anybody for that matter, if Republicans want to buy on, that's great. What do you do? Well, number one, you say we're going to get rid of Trump's tariffs unless they're creating a lot of jobs, and the benefits of job creation swamp the costs of those tariffs. Number two, we're going to get rid of monopolies, because a lot of the biggest cost increases have been occurring because big grocery chains and also big pharmacy chains and also
And big tech.
And big tech, absolutely, and big finance. They have so much monopoly power, they can raise prices without worrying about losing customers.
By the way, you saw Netflix is going to purchase Warner Brothers. It's looking like the deal's about to go through.
Yeah, and what Democrats should be saying is, no, if you are a big corporation, if you already have market power, you can't acquire, you can't merge, you can't simply buy another big company. No, we're not going to allow that. And if you're a giant corporation that already has enough market power to set prices, we're going to bust you up. I mean, let's be let's be realistic about market power and pricing. That's as Democrats should be in the lead on this issue. And we could go through the rest of it. I'm just saying labor unions. I mean,
Labor unions,
how are people going to
minimum
have
wage.
minimum wage? I put down 10 kind of obvious things. I'm not taking any pride of authorship here. There are 10 obvious things that Democrats and would-be Democrats, Democratic office holders, ought to be pledging in terms of bringing prices down and doing
And
something
if you
that the
look at a lot
Republicans
of
are not doing.
local, right, and a lot of local races, and the progressives who are winning, and the young people who are winning. You know, we've had some of the youngest people. There's a guy in Texas who's 21 who entered the state legislature. And you look at these young people, and this is what they're running on, and this is what they're winning with, and this is what their constituents care about.
No question. I mean, look at Zoran Mamdani. I mean, it was all about affordability. I mean, look across the country, and the Democrats are winning on these issues. So all I did on Friday was just list 10 things that kind of should form a kind of Democratic pledge, a pledge of making America affordable again. How do you like that? You like that? Make America.
So
make America affordable again.
I do like it. I like the idea of it, and I like the reality of the concept. Would you, when you write a Substack, it's a lot. Is it in the morning? Do you meditate before that? Have you started meditating? You and I have been going back I feel like we have I'm trying to start meditating. Are you, is it working for you? Are you doing it?
I love it. Now people say to me, oh yeah, California, yeah, meditation. But it's actually very useful. And I do recommend it. And I think you should try. It's hard, Heather, because you have so many ideas. And you have so many. Your mind is one of these monkey. I don't mean to be. I'm not denigrating, but it's a kind of mind that moves so fast. It's very hard to tame it. Can I use that term?
Yes.
I don't.
Are you my meditation coach now? Are you my guru?
Yes. What you just need to do, to just try 5 minutes, and just every morning. The best time is really first thing in the morning. You just sit quietly, and you let your mind is inevitably going to wander, but just bring it back. Bring it back. Keep on bringing your mind back to the present. And if you
the
do
breathing.
that enough,
if I don't do the breathing, I can do a good 10 minutes.
I urge you to breathe. It's important to keep breathing.
It's recommended.
But keep bringing your mind back, and eventually you will find yourself calming down. And so this is not just a California thing. This is really something I think everybody
it's proven
needs
by science.
to consider. Yeah.
Which some of us still appreciate. Okay, so you and I are meeting on Monday for a live watch-along of the last class film.
I thought you were going to say we were going to meditate together. No, we were going to
let's do that too. Oh, I'd be terrible meditating with you.
Well, you can meditate alone.
I have an idea for your Substack.
But it's...
What are we saying on the Coffee Klatch?
Heather, it's
Do you want a cup of coffee?
It's easier.
Do you want another cup of coffee?
It's easier to meditate with somebody else, I find. So because you gradually help each other calm yourself down. So anytime you'd like to meditate, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. I meditate with my dog. I find her very calming.
Well, she can be
Not
calming.
that you wouldn't be a step up from that.
Well,
okay, but what I was going to say is...
I really appreciate that, Heather.
Yeah, but she's very calming. She doesn't talk a lot. She's very, and her breath is
Does
very
she interrupt you?
visual. No.
She doesn't interrupt
Well,
you.
with her barking, she does actually. But so Monday, the last class film has been in theaters since June. Thank you to all of you who are going to see it. It's been resonating. It's been so cool to see. But so many of you have said, I don't leave the house. I can't leave the house. When am I going to get to see it? It's not in a theater near me. So we are trying for fun a one-off live watch-along of the last class film this coming Monday in 2 days, December 8th, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
And every time zone in between. right? There are time
and the
zones
time
in
zones in
between.
between and around. Though we apologize to people who are overseas from us who are saying, you really want me to get up at 2:30 in the morning. So you will eventually be able to see it too, we promise.
In
This
Nova,
is just a
when
test.
when is it going to be shown in Nova Scotia? I had somebody just write me asking me that question.
Isn't it
What's what?
15 minutes
It's 15
other?
minutes.
15
I think
minutes
it is.
late.
I think it's
I think it's 50. Yeah,
8:15,
8:45,
8:45, something
8:15,
like that.
15
Yeah.
before.
So anyway,
Anyway,
this is
sorry, sorry, Nova Scotia.
5:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on Monday, and you and I are going to be there, and the film's director
Elliot
is going to be
Kirshner.
with, and Elliot's going to be with us as well, right?
Yeah, so the plan is we get here, we talk for a couple minutes about the film, we watch the film, we're quiet for most of it. You know, maybe a musical interlude happens and we
We'll
pipe in with one
meditate.
thing.
I can do a
We
meditation.
can meditate. And then at the end, I'm going to regret having brought that up. And at the end, we're going to do a Q&A where you all can come into, I said Q&A like QAnon. We're going to
Yeah.
do a Q&A.
Where
I
did
think
it
that's
be?
better.
Q-
We're going to do a
Q&A.
Q&A where people can write in the comments. A few of you have written in questions. Okay, so where do you go to sign up? You go to thelastclassfilm.com.
Let me repeat
and you
that.
put your
Let me
email
just
in for the
let me
watch
repeat,
along.
let me interrupt you and repeat that. It's thelastclass.com. The Last Class
No.
Film.
Film.
thelastclassfilm.com. That's all one word. thelastclassfilm.com.
Yep, and you put in your information. Your cell phone is optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
And
you
it's
put in your
free,
information.
right? You don't have
and
to
it's
pay.
free. Nope. I mean, there's a donate button if you feel like donating. You can. It's all free though. And then you get the link the day of. The day of we'll be announcing the actual link. But in the meantime, we're seeing how many people are interested.
That's great.
And we are lots of people are signing up. So thank you and come join us for that.
That's terrific. I'm really looking forward to that. You know
I'll
what
make the
else is
popcorn.
free? You know what else is free? My class. You know, all
Yes.
14 sessions of my class that the last class is about. My
Wealth
class,
and poverty.
Wealth and poverty. You can go and get and have, you know, each class is 2 hours or an hour and a half, and you can have the whole course free.
I keep
Did you know
talking to
that?
people who have seen it. I knew it. Well, also I was
Where do
very
you
aware.
I should know this. Where do you find it?
So you can find it in multiple places. One is inequalitymedia.org. That's our website. It's all there. Two is just on YouTube, Wealth and Poverty Reich. Type that in. Also, if you type it in on Google, just a Google search, I think the version that comes up is when you had it all on your Substack. So you've done a Substack where you showed the class weekly, and then you have a summary page that links to them all. And so, it's all over the internet, the Wealth and Poverty
Okay,
class.
so just to just to repeat, Monday we're doing the watch along of The Last Class, and you go
Film,
to
yep.
thelastclassfilm.com to register, and it's going to be free.
Yep.
Great,
Bingo.
Heather,
Okay,
this is
are we?
terrific.
I feel like we
and
should check in at the beginning of where we are for a 1 out of 10 and where we are for a 1 out of 10. I feel decent after this coffee.
Well, I do
thank you
too.
for it.
I got riled up a little bit when we were talking about the Frankenstein monsters of Hegseth and Bondi and RFK Jr. and what Trump has been creating and what I mean. This is a 5-alarm fire. This is not something that anybody should normalize. I'm not suggesting you are normalizing it, Heather, or anybody else is normalizing it, but it is just, it's been going on for more than 10 months. And a lot of people it's very hard to keep on fighting and to understand how important it is for us to keep on fighting this. So let me just, Heather, thank you once again for all of your help in helping people understand how awful this is and keep their courage and keep their tenacity and keep their hope alive. I think that there are a lot of indications that a blue wave is coming. Don't you think, Heather?
Yes, a lot of indications.
I mean, if you look at
Yeah, 90% of, or almost 90% of Dems who won, they've won or overperformed in already this year in their
Now,
races.
when you say overperformed, let's make sure everybody understands. They are doing far better than Democrats did when Trump was on the ticket. I
Right.
mean, in places like,
Thank you.
well, we saw like in Tennessee just last week, in Nashville. I mean, there was a huge. I mean, the Republican did win, but by a much smaller margin than
That's exactly it.
Republicans were winning in Tennessee. And that's been the case all over the country. Democrats either are winning or are winning relative to what happened in 2024, which indicates on average Democrats are gaining something in the order of 13% over where they were in 2024. And if we can keep that going, even adjusted for the fact that there were special elections, that margin would give Democrats control over both the House and potentially, possibly, the Senate. I don't want to get our hopes too high, but I do want people to understand that this nightmare could at least be constrained. The Frankenstein monster we've been talking about could be contained by a Democratic Congress, a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, starting January of a year from this January. That is, it's not. It sounds like forever in the future, but it's not forever in the future.
2027.
So I'd like to. Do we have to end soon? I guess we do.
I think we do.
Yeah. So again,
We'll
let
be
me
back.
thank you. We'll be back with more of hope and more outrage. Hope and outrage. This is what we call ourselves. Do you want to be hope or do you want to be outrage?
I want to be hope,
Okay. Then
except when I feel outraged.
I'll
It
be
doesn't have to be so binary.
I know. Today I was mostly outrage, and I
Yeah.
apologize. But let me just say to all of you out there, do keep hope alive. I think it's very important to understand that their goal, when I say they, I'm talking about Trump and the billionaire backers of Trump and the bigots who Trump has surrounded himself with, and the Frankenstein monster of Trump. What they want is for us to lose hope. They want us to become cynical and negative, because that way they have an easier time winning it all, doing whatever they want to do. It is our outrage, our fighting what they are doing, our not only demonstrating, but also maintaining our anger, our decision to boycott companies that are doing things that they shouldn't be doing to their workers, like Starbucks, for example, right now, and other companies like big tech companies that are collaborating with Trump. The boycott, our consumer dollars are critically important, and continuing to call our members of Congress, because I can tell you from my experience that even though it doesn't look like or sound like your members of Congress may be responsive to what you want, they are keeping track. Even the Republicans are keeping track of what you call and what you demand, and especially if you are a constituent of the Republican member of Congress. So keep hope alive. And thank you for everything you are doing. Heather, we'll see you next
on
week.
Monday.
See you Monday. Absolutely. Have a good weekend.